have the Ayatollah of fantasy rock and roller with us today, Adam Rank. How you doing, Rank?
They look great in person, and I just can't wait till next year we can pack it full of 25,000.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I didn't know it was Ball Guys Day. It was being ranked. I mean, how can you lose?
This is the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast.
Welcome to another edition of the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast, powered by the Fantasy Points Media Group. We have a little bit of technical delays here going on here between the speakers and AirPods and headphones and everything, which I'm actually pretty sure my sound is coming through my computer right now somehow. So the earpod I'm wearing is absolutely useless right now. But what's not useless is our preview to week number 14. And joining me, as always, the one and only Tera Roberts. How you doing, Tera?
We're doing fantastic. I love our sound effects.
And the man with the plan behind all those sound effects, the one and only Major Caldwell.
What's up, everybody?
How you doing, Major? You gotta give the people that nice, deep, sultry sound that you gave me a little bit earlier there at the mic.
I don't know if that was me or if that was someone else. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounded better earlier. I swear it was much more impressive. Not nearly as impressive as somehow squeezing into the SFB 11 playoffs with a 5-8 record right here. Tera, how do your 7-6 team do?
We were literally six. I say we, like I'm like my team is part of me. We were literally 6 points away from the cutoff. I've never been so hurt. I was one Boston Scott mistake start away from making it. So yeah, I'll have nightmares about it.
Wow.
And Major, you were also in it for the first time in the Scott Fish Bowl. How did you manage to do?
I have no idea how to check the playoffs. I'm looking right now. I don't know how to do this because it is my first time, but I thought I was pretty good. I mean, I had Derrick Henry who got hurt, so that kind of slowed down my momentum a bit, but let's see here.
So it's easy enough to go into Twitter. Head over to @ScottFish24. He's got the link right there. Scroll down, Control F, type in Major Caldwell, and see if you're there.
One note, my brother was actually in the top 30. I think he was number 30. So shout out to Jay. Congratulations.
Oh, Jay Roberts making a match for Tera, absolutely destroying him on a trade way back when. He gets the last laugh in the Scott Fish Bowl this year.
I'm 8-5, so I think I'm in. I don't know.
Oh, that don't mean nothing. Actually,
Really?
I think everyone at 8 wins. I think 8 wins automatically got you in this year, I believe. 8 wins or 1,800 points. I think those were kind of the numbers there that kind of Scott put out there. But I have been wrong before, so.
You said go to Twitter, go to.
Or you can go to go to the website scottfishbowl.com, and then there's like a playoff tabs, and you'll see.
Oh, and I hit if I'm in that screen, I'm in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm in. Yeah.
Not only representing the Vipers, but representing Fantasy Points. And you can get represented by Fantasy Points as well by heading over to fantasypoints.com, entering promo code 21Vipers10 and getting 10% off that subscription today. You know what? Fantasy football never truly ends. If you're playing Dynasty, if you're doing fantasy football properly, there is no off season. So make sure to head over to fantasypoints.com and get that advantage on the rest of your league while you're at it. Now, speaking of teams that got a little bit of an advantage there, what were some of your takeaways, Major, from week number 13 before we move on?
The only thing, the New England game, I loved every moment of it. We had running back running the ball every single play. 9 men in the box, 12 men in the box, 15 men in the box, and we still ran the ball all over. I don't even like New England. I don't know why I said we, but it was just throwback football. I'm old enough to remember where like football used to be that till we got all this passing crap, but like it was amazing. I love that game. Loved every second of it.
And right now, you're hearing the voice of former College of Canyons junior college running back, Major Caldwell, number 9 in the program, and number 1 in all your hearts.
And number 1 in your
Tera, what was your major takeaway from week number 13?
That is actually one of my favorite quotes from The Replacements. One of my favorite movies ever anyway. But my favorite, actually, I tagged Major with my favorite moment. Let's stay on this game. I tagged him and he did respond. I was a little disappointed.
I don't respond to nonsense. Sorry.
Because it was such a fantastic performance from Damian Harris. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, he should have been my stud of the week. I don't know why I didn't do that, but yeah. Such an RB1 performance.
One play, great.
So we seen what New England did. They basically said, you know what, Mac Jones, we're going to rest your arm this week. We're going to rely on the run game. We're going to pound that rock with Damian Harris and sprinkle in a little bit of Stevenson, who didn't quite put up the same kind of production as Damian Harris with more volume. And it took a Harris hamstring to kind of help that along. But, one thing led to another. One team that we haven't seen run the ball has been the Carolina Panthers. A team that could very well be, I would recommend following that New England Patriots kind of program when it comes to run the ball, play good defense, et cetera, which really cost Joe Brady his job this week, as Carolina has moved on from offensive coordinator Joe Brady, who some in the world of fantasy football and every other kind of football out there really thought Joe Brady had an opportunity to be a head coach going into this year. He can't even get through the season as an offensive coordinator. And part of that is, I strongly believe Matt Rule wanted to run the ball. He came out a couple of weeks ago and said, we want to run the ball. And then Joe Brady went off and threw the ball 45 times a game. That's probably not the way to ensure your job security moving forward. Your guys' thoughts there.
In his defense, Matt, like, who was going to run the ball? Like, CMC's out. You have Chuba, who's he's a rookie, probably doesn't something blocking schemes maybe. That's usually the thing with rookie running backs is the blocking, but you can't run with Chuba. He's not going to be a 20 time, 25 carry back. Like, come on.
He already was. He already did the job. What more do you want? He's a second string running back. I thought you'd be all over this, Major.
I am, but you do Brady a break. I only mess with third string running backs, buddy.
Got to get it right.
But the reality of the situation is, if your quarterback is struggling, whether it's Cam Newton, Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, whoever it is, for an offensive lineman, and you know this, Major, as a former junior college running back, it's easier for those linemen to push off and go forward than it is for them to come back. So if you're struggling, you get the ball running. That is basically how you butter your bread. That's how Matt Rule cut his teeth as a line coach. He was trying to get back to that, and they couldn't get back to that. I think that's why he was kind of that disconnection between head coach and offensive coordinator, which led to where we're at now. Now, obviously, I don't see this changing a whole lot going forward, because obviously you're against Chuba. Bo, he's against Chuba. He's talking more like a fourth string kind of running back here. I love Chuba. Why? Because he's Canadian. He's from my neck of the woods. He's literally about, he's from, I want to say about 4 or 5 hours north of where I am. So, we stick together. That's how we roll. Except unless you're Chase Claypool, then I won't go there. But Chuba's my guy, okay? Chuba's my guy. I got a chance to watch him quite a bit up here. So I think he can get the job done, and I hope to see Carolina. I think they get back to it. I think they start running the ball this week. I think you're going to see another commitment to the run game. And Chuba's basically going to hit up Bo on Twitter and say, you're wrong on this one, completely wrong. And he probably did play hockey. There's a good chance that at some point in his life he did play hockey up here, because that's kind of what we do. Now,
do you guys think Joe Brady will get a head coaching job even with being fired?
I mean, that's definitely going to be, in my opinion, it's going to be up to whatever kind of GM wants to take that opportunity, that chance. If you like Joe Brady and what he did before, you're going to like what he's going to bring to your program.
Right.
Now, is he for everyone? Probably not, because Major, you're old as I am here, right? It's always been that 3 yards and a cloud of dust. When we talk about football, that's where we're brought up. We're brought up in that 3 yards and a cloud of dust. Even me playing Canadian football with only 3 downs, it was run the ball football, establish that, and get your pass game off that. Today's coordinators, today's game, it's set up your run game through your pass game. Run those verticals with the crossers coming across. That's kind of how things are going. Well, you've seen what Bill Belichick did. He basically said, let's go back to 1936. Who needs a forward pass?
Right.
But, that's kind of where we're at as far as I'm concerned when we talk about Carolina. I think they get back to that. I think they're going to have some success going back to that because I think that's going to let's get back to running the ball. Okay, we got Cam under center. Cam's going to run it. Then they're going to start running a little bit of pass off of that. They're going to get going. It's not going to be an explosive offense, but they do have weapons there in Carolina. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen here. If you are one of those 0 RB truthers, then Chuba might be one of those league winners for you, whether you like it or not, because let's face it, when you look around that running back landscape right now, there is not much out there. And, Bo, I know where you're going here. You're talking about Tera is better than Chuba. I've heard about Tera's knees. They're not very good either. Tera's got some bad knees too from her college or high school basketball days. So Chuba's knees may be in a little bit better condition. Not to mention he's about 22 years old. So
I will say
I've got a old. I think
I am
called
pretty
you
old.
old, Tera.
I am fairly old. I think I'm the young one of this group, but in general, a lot of these, young fantasy football gurus coming up in the world. I'm part of the old people group. I will say that I do think that I have a better playoff schedule than Chuba coming up. So yeah, I would bet on me. I would bet on me.
That is true. The schedule that the Carolina Panthers have drawn for the running back position is not good. It's not like Antonio Gibson, who I've been telling you, go out there and go get. He's got a great schedule down the stretch. He's a guy you want to sell the farm for, especially in redraft, to go grab because he's got a gravy schedule. Plus, he's got Dallas ×2. More on that a little bit later. And yes, my mustache would pick up at least 3 yards every carry. But we're going to head over to Rod Elliott here, who is a Canadian as well. So we know we got to get him on the show. If Keenan will play, need to plug in one of these guys, Claypool, which he has, or do I pick up KJ Osborne, Russell Gage, or Jalen Guyton? Thanks. Tera. There's a couple here that are big time Tera Roberts, Tera time players. Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, I like this group as a whole. I'm a little bit worried about Claypool this week just because he's healthy right now. He's practicing in full, but that toe, that's something that if you're in the middle of the game, it can come up, it can bother you. So we've got no guarantee that he can make it through the game. So I might lean towards I like KJ Osborne the most out of that group. I mean, come on, he's going to be the wide receiver too now. There's only so many targets that can go to Jefferson. Some have to shift that way over to Osborne and Conklin. So yeah, I'm big on Osborne rest of the season.
Major, what do you think?
I'm gonna go with Jalen Guyton. I like Guyton, speedster. It looks like I'm gonna talk about it later, but I'm just gonna say Jalen Guyton right now.
I like KJ Osborne as well. Obviously, Keenan Allen, if he's playing, he's in your lineup. I think he's just going to get 2 tests here in the next few weeks, so he's going to be sitting pretty. The thing I like about Osborne is Adam Thielen's got an ankle injury. He left last week's game on Sunday. They play on Thursday night. It's going to be tough for him to be 100%, so he's definitely a guy. I think if Keenan Allen's not available, and I imagine you're going to want to have an answer here by Wednesday afternoon, Thursday morning, you're kind of hoping to hear something like Keenan Allen as far as that's concerned. At least one negative test. If we get that first negative test, we can feel pretty comfortable that second negative test isn't too far behind as it pertains to Keenan Allen. But I got no problem paying KJ Osborne this week. Russell Gage, another good one. I like Russell Gage too. He had a good week last week picking up, but he's not Kyle Pitts, but he's definitely Robin to Kyle Pitts' Batman, so to speak.
I think Bob is in the chat. We got to make sure we stay respectful to Kyle Pitts.
We've got the 2 biggest supporters of Kyle Pitts in our chat right now. Bo, you know where he's at. If you're looking for, he wrote an article on the unicorn himself. One of the first articles that came out right after the draft process. He threw that out there, so you know he's a big supporter. And of course, our very old Bob Gilchrist there. Both guys catch some of their work every once in a while there, whether it's graphics or articles on the Dynasty Vipers website there. And you catch Bo just about everywhere. Ball Blast, you name it. Bo's everywhere too. Not to mention, he's got some of the spiciest takes out there. If you're looking for some DFS, make sure to hit up Bo because he's got those takes. That said, we want to talk about spicy takes, hot takes. We're going there. We're going to start off with our bold takes from week 13. Tera, what did you have for us last week?
It made sense in theory, and it was very bold. 25 points for Brandon Ayuk is a bold prediction. Unfortunately, he didn't hit that. It was clearly Kittle time for the entire game. But yeah, I don't want to hit on it too much because I feel like it was right in theory, just didn't pan out.
Well, I like how you chose the words hit on it because you certainly did not this week. Now, Major, I got to ask you a question here. Actually, Bull wants to ask a question. Should I trade away Cam Akers for a late first and a late first for Javonte for a dynasty contender? So basically, would you trade Akers and a first for Javonte Williams? Major, to you, the running back guru.
Yes, Javonte has shown that he is the man. That dude ran like a maniac last week, and catching a ball. So he's an all-round running back. And you get a first rounder. I'm a huge Cam Akers fan, and he's already looking amazing coming off of that Achilles. So I don't think you can lose either way. I just like the added first-round pick. So I think you get a little extra bump there.
So you've got Akers there and Javonte Williams pretty close to one
Pretty
another
close.
as far as your rankings are.
Yeah.
The first kind of puts you over. Tara, what about you?
Oh, that's tough because they're both in situations where with Cam Akers, I mean, we can assume he's going to not have to split carries with Darrell Henderson. And then Javonte, we're basically hinging on the fact that we think that Melvin Gordon will be out and they'll just clearly hand the entire reins over to Javonte. I might go ahead and do that. I do believe in Javonte. I believe in the talent. I just get a little concerned with Denver's organization as a whole. I don't know. I'm a little torn. It's very even for me.
Well, for me, as far as my dynasty rankings are, they haven't been officially released, but I've got Javonte Williams at number 4 at the running back position. I love Javonte Williams and what he does. Big fan of his. He was my number 2 back coming out of the colleges here of this draft, so I love what he does. Cam Akers, I'm a big-time truther. I'm one of his biggest supporters. He is still a RB1 for me. Despite the injury, I've got him at RB12, which is a little bit further down. Now it's where you feel that first is going to be. If it's going to be a late first where you don't think you're going to get the value, then I'm good taking the Javonte Williams side. If it's a mid to early first where you can add one of these good backs that are coming out, like a Breece Hall or something, then I may lean towards Akers, depending on where I project that first round pick to be.
It's going to be a good draft, too. So there's some really good talent coming out.
Yeah, it is. I mean, every year we think it's good and then it goes bad and then we think it's going to be good again. That's kind of what we do. I haven't dove too much into the film yet so far. I've just started a little bit, but another question, Rod. Rod's coming back with us before we go. Different league. Would you drop A-Rob or Tyler Boyd for Osborne? How long can I keep hope for Allen Robinson? Tara.
I think we might be in Kenny Golladay territory where we might not see Allen Robinson for the rest of the fantasy season, which for Chicago is for the rest of the season anyway. So unfortunately, I'm okay with dropping Allen Robinson. I'm not confident that we're going to see him again.
Major.
This is dynasty, right?
Give us both takes here.
I'm a dynasty guy, and I really like Boyd. Hopefully, he goes somewhere where he can be the guy somewhere. But I think Osborne is coming on. Tara's been telling you guys since week 1, grab this guy. So, but A-Rob is just, I think it's not him, it's the quarterbacks. So, man, that's a hard one. I would drop. I would keep both of those guys in. Yeah, damn. Osborne is good. So I'm torn. I'm kind of like Tara. I'm torn, but A-Rod, he's still good. Is the quarterback play. Boyd is really good. He has a lot of mouths to feed. If anything, I would drop Boyd and get Osborne. But that's a hard choice.
And for me, if we're talking redraft, A-Rob, he's gone. I can't trust him the rest of the year. I will not trust him. I like the schedule for the Vikings pass catches, and I like the fact that Thielen's going to be dealing with a bit of an ankle injury here the rest of the season. He's going to be on the field, but he's going to be a little bit limited. Now, if we're talking dynasty here, I'm still keeping Allen Robinson on my roster. I'm a glutton for punishment there. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and hoping for a different result. Well, that's kind of where I'm at for Robinson for most of the season. And then when you look at this, if I was to drop one, I would think Tyler Boyd would be the guy to drop in Dynasty for Osborne, simply because I don't think the Bengals are going to let Tyler Boyd walk anytime soon. I think they like him enough, much like Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy type situation where we thought maybe Sutton would move on, but instead they decided to retain him there in Denver. I think you're going to see the same situation with Tyler Boyd, and I don't think you're going to be able to trust Boyd week in, week out with those other mouths to feed there in Cincinnati. So redraft, I'm dropping probably Robinson. Dynasty, I drop Boyd, I believe. Javonte Williams, must start rest of season. Major.
Yes.
Tara?
And 100% or 100% dependent on Melvin Gordon. Even if Melvin Gordon's playing, I'm okay with a flex. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like Boyd's got himself flex appeal no matter what, especially as a pass catching in PPR league. So yeah, I think Javonte Williams is a must start each and every week. I've got him starting as my RB1 or RB2, mostly because of injuries. But yeah, I'm trusting Javonte and that talent. Now, speaking of, you get a 2-for-1 here on the bold prediction take. So we're going to count this as a victory this week, right? We're going to take this one. We're going to circle the wagons. So my bold
leave
prediction.
It up to Tera. Tera's up to you if it's.
No, this is democracy. It's a voting. It's two votes to one kind of determines this. Now, Alexander Madison is a top 5 running back. Last week was my bold prediction. Now, because it's my question, I'm going to misconstrue the information here a little bit. Now, Alexander Madison was the RB8 in PPR. However, he was the RB5 in both half PPR and standard leagues. I am going to call that a victory and get the first one of the year. Therefore, Major, you get a victory because your bold prediction was not making bold prediction correct this week.
You said democracy and you declared yourself a victor.
Tera, this is not your time right now. See what I did there? I did a match.
Well, unless Major wants to consider himself wrong again this week.
You know what? I'm going to say, I'm on Tera's side with this. You lose, and I lose too.
I just said that.
A win is not a win. You know, sometimes you just got to like.
I've seen Tera Steek and Bo's comment there about PPR is the bar, though.
I had to slide that one in there. I agree, Bo. That PPR is the bar, but we'll let it slide. Matt hasn't experienced a lot of victory this season, and I want him to be happy. So we're gonna give him the win.
But the dance made me want to not give him the win.
I'll see. He deserves it.
All right.
As long as I'm
I got a good feeling this is getting clipped.
As long as I'm sitting down, I got some rhythm. If I stand up, it's going all over the place. So if you think this is bad, wait till I
it's
stand
still
up.
pretty bad. Let's not do it.
Oh no, it's bad. Don't get me wrong. I got the data groove down though. I've got that down to a science.
The 2-step.
Now let's talk about a little bit of week 13 here right now. Well, I can 2-step like you wouldn't believe. That I can do with rhythm. Now we got to go studs and duds for week number 13. Before we can move on, we have to look back, and we're going to look back on week 13. Tara, who are your studs? Who are your duds?
You know, for my stud of the week, I am going with Amon-Ra St. Brown because I'm proud of him. It's his best rookie game, his best game of his rookie season, gets his first touchdown of the year, and it happens to be the game-winning touchdown for the Lions' first victory of the year. So, yeah. I feel like you have to give it up for him. 10 receptions on 12 targets, 86 yards. I mean, it's been an up and down for him, and obviously for the Lions as well. But he's been incredibly reliable in terms of his catch rate. He's at a 76% catch rate. So, I mean, it's just encapsulates the success that he's had over the season. It was a good way for him to give the Lions their first win. My dud of the week. My dud of the week will be quick because this one hurts me personally. It's Terry McLaurin, 3 of 5, 22 yards. I don't think we need to explain it anymore. Yeah, I love Terry.
Don't worry. We're going to explain this a little bit more because someone called this one.
Oh, he was right.
No, Major, what do you got for us? What's Studley and what's Dudley?
I'm going. I kind of talked about a little bit earlier at the beginning of the show, but that New England, the running backs and the O-line, they did work. Like, it's really hard to have the defense know exactly what you're going to do every play and still go out there in like below zero weather with the wind blowing. You don't even want to like move, and you have to run into somebody every single play. That shit hurts. So hats off to the New England running backs. Great vision, great grit, power, speed, all that good stuff. And the O-linemen, they did their job, man. That was a straight O-lineman win. You don't see that anymore. My dub for the week, I'm going to stay in the same game. I'm going to go with Mac Jones, like 3 passes. And it wasn't because it was resting his arm. The team knew he couldn't throw with that noodle arm in that windy weather. So they hid him behind the running backs. That's all it was. I love Mac Jones. What he's done is, I was big doubter, but he won me over. But this game just kind of let me know what the coaches really think about his arm strength.
First off, they wanted to give Josh Allen and the Bills an opportunity to win that game. They wanted to keep it close just for fun because they didn't want to unleash McCorkle on Bills Mafia. Let's be honest. That's how that broke down. And you be careful how you're referring to the offensive rookie of the year for 2021. All right? Let's put a little respect on McCorkle Jones.
Jalen Waddle.
That ain't going to happen.
Waddle, baby.
Oh, I can do that dance.
The Waddle, baby.
That one I got the rhythm for. Don't you worry about that.
Who you got, man?
Everyone got a nice little.
Yeah, obviously with your belly, but who do you got for studs and duds, man?
I think I pulled something in my neck. You know you're getting old when.
I'm laughing so hard because I've been there, dude. Oh, that's
because I'm not so old. Oh wait, never mind. I did crack a rib coughing. I'm old. Never mind.
Okay, that's even worse.
That's
rib
worse.
Cracking coughing. Now, that Buffalo New England game last night, that just reminds me of a regular Tuesday up here. We got our snow, we got everything. It's down. We're good to go. We're ready to roll. Throw in a little waddle dance, and you know what? I'm feeling right at home right now. But you know who's really at home right now is Gardner Minshew in the city of brotherly love. Stack upon stack to Dallas Goedert. Man, you get stud status first off because you're Gardner Minshew, right? That's basically how this goes.
Yes.
When there is a rebirth of Gardner Minshew, it's like the phoenix rising from the ashes again. It's still Jalen Hurts' team, let's be honest. But man, the emotion that I know everyone saw that TikTok or whatever video that was, or Minshew, I think it was his dad. They're like,
yeah.
That's what I like. That is exciting. That is football. That's what you like to see. So for me, that's my stud of the week. Tight end 2, Dallas Goedert. Quarterback 10, Gardner Minshew. That classifies. We're going to combine those for the studs of the week. Now, flipping over to the duds, another guy I said to fade was Ezekiel Elliott, who finishes the RB37, 4.7 fantasy points, 13 carries, 45 yards. I know the best running back in Dallas is Tony Pollard. Bo knows the best running back in Dallas is Tony Pollard. We all know Pollard is the best running back in Dallas, except Jerry Jones paid Ezekiel Elliott. But, you know, I want to see more Pollard the rest of the season. That's kind of where I'm at. I know we're not probably going to get it, but, you know, he's a little nicked up. They're trying to give him a little bit of a breath here a little bit, heading in, maybe trying to get him fresh here for the playoffs to make a big run here because I think Dallas has all the tools to be definitely a contender in that NFC. So, sorry, Elliot, you're the dud for me this week. We knew that going in based on what you're dealing with. But, yeah, there's both stepping in. Zeke is better when he's healthy. Pollard is my favorite, though. This is a pro Pollard show.
Isn't everyone better when they're healthy? I don't know. That's like saying like day to day. Everyone's day to day. You know?
I don't know. I haven't been healthy for about 36 years, so we're probably stretching it here a little bit. Now, we like to give a little bit of IDP love out there. So, Tera, who is that IDP player of the week?
I'm going to be very biased right here, and I am giving my IDP. Hold up, make sure I'm pointing the right. Yes. I am giving my IDP to J-Ron Curse of the Clemson Tigers. 8 solo tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 assisted tackle, 1 pass defended, and 1 interception, 1 of 4 for the entire Dallas Cowboys defense. But yeah, man, fantastic game for my boy.
Major, who you got?
I don't even know how to pronounce this dude's name, but I'm gonna try. Kamu Granger Hill. Let's call him KGH. The dude linebacker for the Houston Texans. 19 tackles. Again, 19 tackles in one game, 1 sack. That's the most tackles in a game in Texans history. And he's also the first player since 1999 to have 19 tackles in one game. So shout out to KGH.
I love that major. I love that you just went ahead and said that you can't say his name because I have been avoiding. I've wanted to pick my IDP player as the linebacker from Atlanta for weeks, and I just I can't say his name, so I just we'll just go with someone else.
I almost did that. I almost did that. If he didn't break records, I would have done that. And I went online and tried to figure out how they say it in the game, and I couldn't find anything. So I just KGH. We're going with that.
Well, you guys remember our waivers last week where Mello came on, who's going to come on a little bit later. Then he was talking about Nwangwu out of the Vikings and Ibiwaki out of the Detroit Lions. Yeah, these are names I don't even try. You know what? It took me 2.5 years to get Tungavaloa figured out. Okay, so did I just get it right again? Anyway,
you did.
And I love this. So we know that Tera's cracking ribs whenever she coughs. We know I pretty much sneeze and my back goes out. We know that apparently Bo pokes himself in the eye with a CPAP mask. Major, what's that old man injury that you get going on every once in a while? Is it still the same as me? You stand up, there goes the neck, or?
I do have the neck. I get a lot. If I sleep wrong, the neck, I'm stuck like this all day. So, it's the neck for me. But Bo, you get one of these, bro.
And of course, we answer IDP questions here as well. What are your thoughts on adding Quincy Williams? He is putting up some numbers.
Yeah, for sure. Go for it.
Yeah, I was about to say I kind of stream my IDP for the most part. So it's on a week to week for me, or maybe every other week. So if you see someone that has some momentum going, and grab them right away.
What's your thoughts there, Tera? I know, are you in the same thought process there as Major? If you see a guy kind of put up a little bit of production, or are you kind of matchup based there when you stream some linebackers? Or for me, I know I stream corners, I stream some safeties from time to time. That's kind of where I stream. I like to have a good, safe floor when it comes to my linebackers. So.
Yeah, with linebackers, defensive backs, not defensive linemen so much, but yeah, I'm okay with it as long as you're playing where it's maybe 2 of each position and you've got that room to be flexible in streaming. Then yeah, for sure, I'm not really keen on holding on too tightly unless it's one of those top guys. I'm more than willing to switch out and stream.
I agree with that.
So I think last week, Quincy Williams there with the Jets, he put up, I think, 16 fantasy points from the defensive side of things there, or 15 points, depending on your scoring system. He's been doing some pretty good work. I definitely think if you got a guy like Leighton Vander Esch, you can kick him to the curb, I think, as far as tackles go. But for me, I mean, I'm following that hot hand there. I'm going to see where the running game is going to be. I think Dallas is a team that's going to be putting points on the board, so teams aren't going to be running. They're going to try and play fast, catch up in the passing game. So he's a guy, like I said, Vander Esch, I'm kind of leading back on. And where the Jets with Quincy Williams, they're going to be in a negative game script when it comes to the running game. I think you're going to see a lot more teams run the ball on them. Therefore, more opportunities to get those tackles. That's kind of the things I'm looking for there. But you mentioned it, 23 points a couple weeks ago, 14 2 weeks ago, 15 last week. So, yeah, Quincy Williams, he's definitely one of those hot hands there. I'm definitely a guy that I'd definitely look at adding him off the waivers. Absolutely. Another IDP question for Dynasty, it looks like. Linebacker, Micah Parsons or Roquan Smith? This is a heavyweight tilt here. Are you going with a little bit of a veteran presence? Or are you going with the Rook, the defensive rookie of the year, perhaps even the defensive player of the year?
Yeah,
Dynasty,
you gotta go with Parsons.
I'm always going younger on Dynasty. I love, if you find a young stud, you grab him and you hold on to him like he's your lover.
Let's just clip that one part right there.
So to recap, Major is willing to
Don't recap me, dude.
big spoon Micah Parsons, is my understanding here. But it is true. I think I'd big spoon Micah Parsons. I'd even do a little spoon if he let me. It doesn't really matter. But Micah Parsons
I
is
think
the
you're gonna
player
be a
here
little
that I'm going with. I think when we look at this at the end of the day, we are going to be looking at Micah Parsons much like we're looking at TJ Watt. You know what? Maybe we may underestimate him in the present, but when you look at everything that he does, where he can come off the edge and this kind of stuff, that's a game breaker. If they're lining up inside, so he's not an edge rusher, but he can rush from the edge. He rushes from the edge. He plays in the middle. I like Micah Parsons and that versatility. So I give a little bit of an advantage there because the big play potential in a lot of these leagues kind of suits up for Micah Parsons for IDP. Now, I don't even know where we are on the show sheet, but I'm pretty confident. My defensive player of the week, TJ Watt. 3.5 sacks, 5 tackles, 33 fantasy points. I see Micah Parsons very similar, except I see Michael Parsons being able to give you that safer floor week in, week out because of what he does in the middle. Now, moving on, we like to be honest. We like to go full disclosure here with our hits and miss. Really, Tera? Really? That many?
What?
Yeah,
I'm just being honest.
I'm just being
honest.
All right, Tera. I'm going to put myself on mute. I'm going to brew myself a coffee. Feel free to start off with your hits here, and by the time I get back, we might move on. I'm
actually going to be very quick because I know that we, try to keep the show within, obviously not clearly an hour anymore, but an hour and a half. So I'll pick one hit. Josh Jacobs. Trade for Josh Jacobs. I've been very positive about the direction that he's heading. And over the past 3 weeks, he has actually been the RB10 in PPR in terms of average points per game and RB5 in total points per game. So he is trending in the right direction. So yeah, I feel like that's a great hit for me. And then my miss, DeAndre Carter didn't really work out at all.
You know what? Hold on, Tera. I picked him up and started him because of you, and he did nothing for me, and I lost. So now I'm like playing for my life to get into the playoffs in one of my leagues. Thanks, Tera.
I'm so sorry. I won't lead you astray again. I was right on the Heineke part of it, but the DeAndre Carter part, not so much. Sorry about that.
Let's go through your list. Go ahead. You got some more.
Let the people know. Seriously, you had some hits. You talked about James Robinson.
Yeah.
You even got the James Robinson fade. You mentioned fading James Robinson last week, and you know what? Urban Meyer decided, hey, that's a great idea. I want to fade James Robinson this week.
I tipped Urban off. I was like, hey, dude, I don't think James Robinson is for you, and he listened. So.
Okay, we're going to toss in here real quick here. Another IDP question. Budda Baker or Minka Fitzpatrick? Major.
Oh, those are two of my guys. I really can't choose between the two. I love both of those players. I want both on my team.
Pick your favorite child. We all have one.
I'll go with Budda because I feel like I found him when no one else was talking about him. So before he blew up. So I'll go with Baker.
I'll go with Baker too. Yeah, I'll go with Baker too.
I'm going to be the lone wolf here. I'm going to go with Minka Fitzpatrick because there is a dog there right now in Arizona by the name of Jalen Thompson, who is taking a lot off of Budda Baker's plate right now. He is eating. He's leaving little scraps here for Budda Baker. Minka's still kind of running that Steelers back end there a little bit more. I'll take Minka here over Budda, even though Budda is, I think, the better player of the two. His numbers aren't there this year. They just are because of what Jalen Thompson has been able to do in that secondary for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Major, hits, misses.
All right, so I'm going to start with my miss because I had to explain this a little bit. So last week, my game of the week was the New England game. I told you guys that it's going to be a quarterback game. They're going to be throwing the ball all over the place. It's going to be the battle of the quarterbacks, and those are people you need to start. Yeah, so I was wrong on that. So we do the show earlier in the week, as you know. This is a Tuesday, and I didn't know what the weather was going to be. But my hit was, if you watch Fantasy Points, Extra Points in the mornings, on Sunday mornings with me and Nick, I went through and said that both of the running backs were going to ball out. I even said Damian Harris was going to hit the mark of like 60 something yards or whatnot to win that player prop. So I got that right. And I also mentioned my guy Ramondre, and they both had really good games. So I hit on that, but I'm gonna keep it real. I missed a lot last week. I just couldn't write all of them down because it was a lot. This is the first time I missed on all of them. So yeah, but I did. It feels better when you're like writing down all your hits. Not so much when you're writing down your misses. I know how you feel, man. I know how you feel, man.
Well, I'm glad you guys can feel my pain here each and every week where I talk about all my misses. Mostly because I don't like to gloat about how many times I absolutely destroyed. But you know what? I am the fantasy Kobe because I was hitting that fade shot all week. Fade. Terry McLaren. I even got some eyebrows raised when I said, do not go with Terry McLaren. I know you're going to want to. I know you're probably going to, but don't do it because the Raiders, they're pretty good when it comes to defending that wide receiver position. They had a letdown there when I had to eat crow there on Cedric Wilson a couple weeks ago. But for the most part, they've been pretty good. And, that was one of those things I kind of felt was going to happen, and it did. So, yay me. Unfortunately, I have a lot of Terry McLaren on my rosters. And, yeah, at certain points of the year, you're like, oh, man, I know this is not a good idea. I know everything about this is not good. But I am not going to start Tavon Austin over Terry McLaren or something like that, right? You're going to go with your players, even though you know better when it comes to that. Now, I'm going to kind of throw this out here. James Martin wants to jump in here real quick.
Oh, you missed your misses.
Oh, no, I didn't miss anything last week.
Oh.
No, actually, if I was going to talk about my misses there, I would say that Derek Carr was probably my biggest miss. I really thought he was QB1 last week against that Washington secondary. The Washington Football Club has given up the most points to quarterbacks in fantasies this year. Derek Carr, he didn't get on board with that program, and clearly it led to the demise of the Raiders in that matchup. Now, when we're talking about some of the injuries here, Joe Mixon's name comes up here. We're going to playoffs. So we need to know what certain players are right now. And Joe Mixon, man, I don't think he's going to – I think he's going to still be playing this week, but I don't think he's going to be near 100%. And I think that's going to be the problem here because a lot of us – Week 14, this is kind of for some of us, this is a win and you're in type situation. Some leagues have started playoffs even, depending on what kind of format you're on or how big of a tournament you're involved in. But, I mean, when you look at it, we know what he did. He still scored a touchdown last week. He didn't have the rushing numbers that he normally has. I think this is going to be one of those games where he's going to be banged up. You might get, if he is going to play, which I think he will play, I think it's going to be limited touches. I think it's going to be limited yardage. I do think he's going to find a way to get in the end zone somehow, some way. Tara, what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I do think that Mixon is going to play. Unfortunately, regardless, even if he's a little bit limited, Mixon is a person that you have to roll out. It's not the best matchup in the world against San Francisco, but yeah, you still have to go with it, even if he's a little bit limited.
Yeah, I like Matt, you described me. If I win, I'm in, and I have Mixon and I have Samaje Perine as well. I'm still trying to figure out what to do. I think it's going to be a last minute call, but I think Joe is going to mess up for everyone. He's going to play. He's going to take away a touchdown or something first from Perine and have 10 yards. So it's going to suck. So I've got to figure something out. But yeah. I hope Mixon. I hope he does get better, but I don't know.
It's definitely something I'm watching very closely throughout the week, seeing what kind of repetitions he's going to get there, see what kind of rest he's going to get there. And I'm probably going to make sure I get Samaje Perine on my roster because when Mixon missed earlier this season, Perine definitely stepped up and did a solid job. So keyword is we're at that point right now where we're working the waiver wires, and we're going to get that a little bit later with Mello, but it's time to make sure you've got your top dogs there. You got them handcuffed because you don't want to go in the playoffs and not have yourself a running back. So moving along here. Okay, Rod's going to come back in here. I have Waller. If he can't go, Ricky Seals, Jones, Foster Moreau, or Jared Cook. Well, I'm going to eliminate Jared Cook right now because I don't like him. That's my solid fantasy analysis there. I would strongly if Waller can't go, which all indications right now are he will be able to go, I would rather have Foster Moreau in there over Ricky Seals-Jones. Now, I do have Ricky Seals-Jones on some of my rosters in which I just lost Logan Thomas. So that's kind of where I'll be handcuffed by tight end in that situation. A couple weeks ago, knowing that Logan Thomas' situation was going to be up in the air, whether he played or not, coming back from, I believe it was a hamstring injury. But for me, give me Foster Moreau if Waller can't go over Ricky Seals-Jones. But I do believe Waller's going to play. Your guys' thoughts?
I'm with you. Go ahead, Trey.
So I'm not entirely sure Ricky Seals-Jones will play. That's the problem is he's hurt. And Logan Thomas, it turns out it wasn't an ACL, so he's not completely off the table 100%. So we have to kind of watch. Yeah, nope, not an ACL. I've never heard where someone's, feared to have an ACL and they're like, oh, wait, no. But apparently it's not. So yeah, so watch out for that one. And if for some reason both Waller is healthy and Ricky Seals-Jones can't go, I would look elsewhere other than Cook. I mean, you could go try and pick up like a James O'Shaughnessy and Evan Ingram, maybe even. I know it's not awesome, but again, the Giants have so many injuries that he's guaranteed, 5 targets or so at a minimum. So yeah, I would pivot away from Cook. That's just too big of a split right there with Parham.
Yeah, I'm gonna reiterate here exactly what Bo says. Cook stinks.
Yeah.
Why you guys?
What's going on? I would go literally anywhere else.
What did Cook do to you guys?
I have a favorite Cook, and it's not Jared. It's Bo. I'll put it that way. Yeah, that's right. And now, you know what? Normally, this is the part of the show where we get into the games of the week. But we're going to do things a little bit different because we are getting questions about handcuffing tight ends, handcuffing running backs, this kind of stuff. So what better time than the present to bring in our very own waiver wire expert, the one, the only, Mello. How you doing, bud?
What's good, fellas? What's good? What's good, Tera? How you doing?
Good.
So, by the way, we had a little issue with a pronunciation question earlier.
Dude, anything I say is a pronunciation. I can't even say the pronunciation properly.
This is really simple. It's Camus Gruget Hill.
That's easy though.
Camus Gruget Hill. Camus Gruget Hill. I was just watching an interview of Meet the New Texans or something like that, and that he said that's how you pronounce his name. Yes.
Gruget,
say it again.
Camus Gruget Hill.
Yeah, aren't you French up there in Canada or something? I don't know.
The hot news is fresh off the wire. Basically, we're down to like 5th string running backs in the Bay Area right now. Right? 5th string. Is that one of your guys? Major?
Nope, but I like 5th string, 3rd string, 4th string running backs.
Every single running back on the 49ers roster is injured in some shape or fashion right now.
Again.
You got one guy with a concussion, you got one guy with a flare-up knee, somebody with a shoulder. Like this is going crazy in San Francisco right now. The only healthy running back on the active roster is JaMycal Hasty. So that's fresh off the press. Right. And we know Deebo Samuels get a few carries as well, too. But I'm not sure they want to work Deebo too much out that backfield. I think JaMycal Hasty is a huge pickup this week. And Major, you talking about win to get in. You better go all in on JaMycal Hasty, buddy. I'm telling you. He's the guy. He's the guy this week for the 49ers. Look, we're talking handcuffing season and whatnot. Handcuffing season went into full bloom around week number 10, right? I've said it the past few times on this podcast, that you have to pick up all the backup running backs. Fill up your entire roster with any healthy body that you can. Coming fresh off of a bye, we got the Tennessee 2. Dontrell Hilliard and D'Onta Foreman, right? D'Onta Foreman is a guy that I would prefer because if Tennessee has a lead, I said if, because things have been wacky in the NFL this year. Tennessee should have a nice solid lead in this game. They should dominate this game against the Jaguars. And D'Onta Foreman is the guy in between the tackles. He's the best comparison to Derrick Henry on that team. There is no comparison to Derrick Henry. If they're losing, it's going to be Dontrell Hilliard. Dontrell Hilliard will come into play at some point. They're going to split the carries. But this week is D'Onta Foreman. Pick up both of them. But if you can only pick up one, it's D'Onta Foreman. Sony Michel. Remember when there was a scramble when Akers went down and the Rams acquired Sony Michel? He really hasn't been getting much run all this year. Something's wrong with Darrell Henderson right now. They made him active last week, but they hardly didn't use him. Something's going on there. Sony Michel is a between the tackles guy that the Rams need and Sean McVay needs to execute that offense the way they need to be. Wide receivers. My favorite pickup of this week, of course, if you're a dynasty player, you already have him. You guys spoke about him earlier in this episode. Jalen Guyton, regardless if Keenan Allen plays or not, I think Jalen Guyton is starting to come on and is going to get his. All the downfield stuff that Mike Williams was doing earlier in the season, that somehow that they can't complete it right now, all those downfield shots are going to Jalen Guyton. Now, if Keenan Allen does not play, Guyton is going to eat. But of course, I'm pumping up Guyton and let it be somebody like Josh Palmer. But I think Jalen Guyton is that guy in LA Chargers this week. Deep sleeper. Deep. Now, this is a caveat. If you have a team that's already solidified a spot in the fantasy playoffs, this wide receiver, Rashad Perriman, is a person that you need to pick up if you're already solidified. Of course, you're not going to play him this week. No, it's a bad matchup this week. But pick up Rashad Perriman. AB, who knows what's going to happen with AB? Who knows? Week 15, 16, and 17 is a cake passing schedule for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Rashad Perriman is a guy for the playoffs, especially if AB doesn't come back. Rashad Perriman could win you a championship. They play the Jets. They play the Lions or the Jets, one of those two teams. I know the schedule is cake. You guys already mentioned KJ Osborne. You took a little bit of my thunder. I had a whole love fest I was going to talk about for KJ Osborne, man. Another player I have on my dynasty roster. Adam Thielen is not going to play this week with a high ankle injury. He may not even play the next week. You have to pass it to somebody, right? And the way that the Pittsburgh Steelers are so thirsty and hungry for a playoff spot, they're not going to let Jefferson just destroy them all over the field. Jefferson, he's going to get some, but he's not going to get everything. Kirk Cousins has to pass to somebody, and it's KJ Osborne. Russell Gage as well. But with that Vikings game, he also has to pass it to Tyler Conklin. Tyler Conklin will eat this week. He's been eating for a long time. Last but not least, the ad I have for you, the Cleveland Browns have to throw it to somebody. They do. Jarvis Landry's going to get his, but the Baltimore Ravens are terrible at covering tight ends, and they don't have any cornerbacks. Like, all their cornerbacks are injured, so their best safeties are going to be covering guys like Landry and Higgins and Diamond Peoples-Jones. Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper is out there in many leagues, and David Njoku is not going to play this week because he's under protocol. So they're slim on tight ends in Cleveland. So that's a Spitz Picks of the week, fellas.
I was on my phone grabbing everybody was talking about. I was going. You did. You got. I had a Jalen Guyton on mine. Yeah, but I got one more for you, homeboy.
Okay.
Well, let's hear it there, Major. Who you got?
Oh, I'm gonna say Philip Lindsay out in Miami. That Miami running game is not doing anything. They do run that like zone stretch that Phillips was very, very productive in when he was in Denver. So just look out. That's for your deep leagues right there. That's some guru stuff right there.
All right. I love how Tera basically wrote her sleeper waiver wire as though everyone was already going to mention everyone on the waiver wire. So Tera, take it away.
Oh, you want me to do my sleeper waiver wire? Oh, man. Let's see. Remind me. I literally can't remember who I wrote, and I'm off of the screen.
Well, you said we already talked about KJ Osborne, and we've talked about Conklin, but there's a quarterback out there.
Yeah. Taysom Hill, man.
Don't say it. Oh.
I'm sorry. I don't want to say it because obviously
when are we going to wait? I don't want to. When are we going to stop with the taste? When are we going to stop? The dude cannot play quarterback. When are we going to stop doing that? Come on, guys.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He can literally throw 4 interceptions, and I don't care. If you're getting 100 yards on the ground and multiple touchdowns, it doesn't really matter, unfortunately. So I'm okay with that.
I agree with Tera. I agree with Tera. I was going to mention Taysom Hill, but there's an uncertainty if he's going to play this week with that hammer finger that Russell Wilson have. I mean, come on, the Saints play against the Jets. Come on, they're playing the Jets this week. He's going to get 100 yards. If he plays, he's going to get 100 yards rushing. And if Alvin Kamara comes back, a few dump-off passes to Alvin Kamara. If Taysom Hill is playing this week, they're going to run him into the ground. And he will probably be a top 10 quarterback if he's active.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not a Taysom Hill truther by any means, but he has to play to get those numbers, though. So I wouldn't waste a high waiver claim or fab on him.
Sean Payton loves him. So, I mean, we have to go with it. He's going to be starting. We have to go with it. And they said it's not as serious as Russell Wilson's. It's not going to require surgery, and he's going to try and play through it. And quite frankly, it's not his throwing that is really what they value anyway. So I feel pretty confident that he's going to. You mentioned the matchup. So, yeah, for me, if he's playing, he's 100% someone that I'm okay with rolling out just because the production, he's a cheat code. That production is there to almost guarantee that he's a QB1.
Yeah, I every time Taysom Hill's name gets mentioned on here, Cal Shoe makes a nickel. That's basically how it rolls here.
Shout out to Cal.
Shout out to Calvin, but come on, y'all.
Now, I also had KJ Osborne as my top waiver ad here. I agree. I don't think Thielen's playing this week coming out, especially on that short turnaround Sunday to Thursday. Makes it very difficult for him to get in there. Thielen's a dog, though, too. He's a guy who can battle through pain. I think he's going to, if he can get out there, he's going to be out there, but I don't know if he's going to be effective in going out there and doing so. So that's where KJ Osborne gets out there. Now, another guy you should check in redraft only, because we are at that 6-week mark, and he's could have been dropped in some leagues, is one, Derrick Henry. If you've got your roster where you're set and you're feeling pretty good about yourself, how about you handcuff the handcuff to your handcuff? You talked about Hilliard. You talked about Foreman. We're talking about Derrick Henry, who's at that 6-week mark. He's a freak of nature. Yeah, it's a Liz Frank, yada, yada, yada. There's probably someone in some league where he was dropped in redraft. And for me, why not go out there and take a chance? Because if you get through this week right now, that's week 6 for his injury. That's week 14. Playoff start, week 15, week 16, week 17. His 8-week period is week 16, your semifinals. And that's kind of the ballpark where I was kind of predicting him to be back and healthy is about week 8. Remember, I'm not really a doctor. I just pretend to be one on this show. That's where my prediction would be him to come back. If he's been dropped in redraft, because there's no way he's been dropped in Dynasty, but if he's been dropped in redraft, you need to go out there and whatever you have left in your fob, whatever it is, you got to get rid of it. You can't take it with you. It doesn't carry over to next season. It's redraft. Go out there and break the bank and go get it. Now,
I agree. I'm
glad you said that. I was just about to drop him right now in Top Fish. I have my money on dropping him to pick up Pyramid. And thank you, Matt.
This is what we do on this show. We save one another from doing stupid things. Well, no, it's not true because Calvin was on the show with me and I did all kinds of stupid things and no one stopped me from doing that. Now,
hey, by the way, Julio Jones is still out there too. I've seen Julio Jones out there in quite a few leagues and he's coming back this week, allegedly. So Julio Jones would be a nice add to your playoff roster.
You know what? I don't know if anyone's dropped A.J. Brown, but he's probably eligible to come back about week 16 as well. So these are some guys here for the Titans. If they're still in that playoff contention, definitely take a look at, strongly consider. Make sure to kick around. Make sure to check that waiver wire right now.
I'm checking it right now. Hey, Julio, hey, y'all about to win me the Scott Fish Bowl. I appreciate y'all. Let's go.
That's all right. Tera doesn't even have her waivers in yet so far because it's Tuesday.
I do. I did it this afternoon. Boom.
Ooh, ahead of the game. Look at that.
Okay. James Martin comes in. He needs to drop one. Dontrell Hilliard, Sony Michel, Van or Jefferson. I imagine it's Van Jefferson.
Yeah, Van Jefferson. Yeah.
Oh.
James, could I ask James a follow-up question? Why do you feel you need to drop someone? Why do you need to drop one of these guys? Who are you picking up to drop one of these guys?
This could have been an IR situation where a guy's coming back on the IR or what it might be. Now, if I was to take this in a vacuum and just with Van Jefferson being the guy, Michelle, and Hilliard being the guy, I would probably drop Dontrell Hilliard because I think Sony Michel's going to have a role with Henderson back one way or the other. Mello, you mentioned that something ain't right. in La La Land when it comes to Henderson. And Van Jefferson, I ain't dropping him anywhere because I think he's going to be a big-time player down the stretch for the Rams as well. So that's kind of where I'm going. Okay, so James kind of goes, he needs to drop one because he's got to pick up a kicker because Nick Folk is on the bye. So that's the situation.
Sometimes I'll just go without a kicker if I have to drop like a player I really like. The kicker is going to give you what, like maybe 10, like maybe. I don't know.
Well, I mean, depends on how I'm running. Scott Fishbowl, I've been running 3 kickers for most of the season, so I can't really complain. That's how I've been rolling. 3 kickers, 3 tight ends. Well,
that's why your record is what it is. No, wait, you made it to the playoffs, huh?
I made it. I got in because of points, man. I got in because of the points. Points count. Now, Jerry Jeudy, Chase Claypool, KJ Osborne. I think we can all eliminate Chase Claypool here. So, Jeudy or Osborne, Tera?
I prefer Osborne. Again, it's not a bad matchup for Denver. We just technically don't 100% know who will be throwing to those wide receivers this week, and they have not been successful. So I'm going to lean towards Osborne. It's just a better matchup.
Major, where are you going?
I'm
still checking for Derrick Henry.
No, I did some work right now. Good job, y'all. But I'm gonna go with Osborne. Jeudy is too inconsistent with that quarterback play, and my dude Matt, you don't like Claypool. I don't like Claypool. Is that what we're doing? Let's go.
Yeah, that's typically the round here. I'm petty, and once you kind of burn me, that's kind of the end of that conversation, real quick. So
I brought the homies.
Yeah, so Claypool's out for me. KJ Osborne, I'm really strongly considering here, but I look at that Denver Broncos against the Detroit Lions matchup, and I can't help but think that Jerry Jeudy's got to have that game this week. So I'm going to lean Jerry Jeudy over Osborne. And you know what? I really think Osborne's going to have that big game this week. I think it's going to work out for him. I think Thielen's going to miss. He's going to be part of that offense. He's going to have a very important part. But if he has that bad game on a Thursday and I have to stare at a bad total on a week in which I'm trying to get in the playoffs, that is going to eat me alive and then probably force me to make some kind of bad lineup decision along the way. So I think I'll take my chances and have Osborne go off on my bench and roll with Jerry Jeudy against the Lions this week and feel much better, because that's something we don't talk about in fantasy very often. If we go out on the limb on that Thursday night football game and a player lays an egg, what kind of effect that has on our rosters the rest of the week, because then you feel like you're chasing points. If you nail it, if the guy you nail it, you go, yes, all right, that's good. I'm sitting pretty. But if that guy lays an egg on the Thursday, you second guess yourself the rest of the week, your lineup decisions, you second guess, and then you get cute. You're like, okay, I got to make up those points I lost. Who's going to be that guy with the highest ceiling? And then they also usually the guys with the highest ceiling have the lowest floors. That's kind of how it rolls out. So for me, give me Jerry Jeudy just because I want to play it a little bit safer here, as my playoffs are kind of in the balance, so I feel much better about that. James, he keeps on going. He's already secured his place, so maybe he'll go no kicker because he feels good about that and hang on to the guys that are major, like you said. Yeah. My bench, he kind of goes Sony Michel, Kareem Hunt, or
Lynn. What's his name? Chanot? Hillard, Gobert?
No, that's just Hunt. This typo.
Yeah, Hunt,
it's just Hunt.
Ayuk. Yeah, don't know if I can drop it. No, I wouldn't drop any of those guys either.
Yeah.
And then Rod kind of goes back. Yeah, I hate Thursday night. Crazy things happen on Thursday night football. That's what happens. You cannot predict Thursday night football, and that's what bothers me the most when we talk about this. I don't know what's going on. That short week, we usually know it's worse on those road teams coming in on the short week than it is for the home teams coming on the short week. But I don't want to bet on my fantasy playoffs on a Thursday night football game. So that's kind of where I stand. Mello, thanks for joining us again this week as we got through those waiver wires. Much appreciated. And again, same time next week. We're going to bring you back here each and every week as we close out the season. We're going to win some championships for the people.
I appreciate y'all for having me. Good luck this week. This is make or break, literally, this week. You got to win to get in. Good luck, Major.
And before you go, just got to give a little shout out where people can find you right now.
You can find me on Twitter at SpitzGame or at FFB Dependency. I do a weekly waiver show in depth. I'll go ahead and tweet it out under your tweet on Twitter I go fully in depth on all these players that I discuss. So I got one last thing to say, man. Never throw in the towel. If you have like a 3-10 team right now, do not be that guy and throw in the towel, because the rest of your league is depending on you to whoop that guy's butt that's in 6th place and holding on to that spot. So that's one of the main things that I've been talking about this week is do not throw in the towel. Do not quit. Hold up the integrity of the league. Like, do not be a douche, please.
But if I'm trying to get that number 1 pick, like, come on, man.
Well, no, that's the difference. If you're playing Dynasty, it's a completely different thing. But redraft, like, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy.
All right, there you go. Don't be that guy. Be the best guy that you can be, I guess is the best way to put it, right? Plus, you know what? I'm petty. I still work the waiver wire right till the last week, even if I'm out of the contention, just to load up on guys that everyone else wants, just because, well, quite frankly, I'm allowed to, and I will. All
leagues should have a weekly skin, so everybody has something to play for all the way to the end. You win your week, you win some money.
Yeah, I actually kind of put myself in a bad spot this year. As one of my home leagues that I commission, I went away from the top 6 head-to-head teams, and I said the top 4 head-to-head get in the playoffs. The 5th seed goes to the best all-play record, and the 6th seed goes to the most points. Well, currently I'm 5th in head-to-head, but I'm going to be 7th when it comes to the other categories, and I'm actually eliminating myself. But that's the way it is. You want to get the 6 best teams in. Get rid of that little bit of luck. Let's get the best teams in there for that championship. Because you know what? The team with the best, the 5th seed right now that has gets in because of the all-play, they have the 2nd best all-play record this year. So really, you could argue they're the 2nd best team. But they would not make the playoffs based on the head-to-head record right now, which I find that to be a sham. So
I love that.
So there you have it. We're going to move on to our games of the week here right now. Mel, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Now, as we move on to the games of the week here, I'm going to give Tera there a little time to kind of settle things down a little bit. Major, what is that game of the week for you?
I'm going with the Rams and the Cards. That's going to be a high-scoring game there. Let's see here. I'm going to go with Sony Mitchell. Sony Michelle, my bad. We talked about how Henderson is hurt right now. He was suited up last week, but they didn't use him because it was a blowout. But I think Sony ran well enough to solidify some of that playing time. He had 24 carries for 121 yards. Like, that's a pretty good game by him. And the other person to start, I'm going to go with Kyler Murray. The guy is just incredible. He had 4 touchdowns in his first game back from injury. It wasn't the best passing game. He only had 123 yards passing, but he did add another 59 on the ground. And I think he'll get back on track against that tough Rams defense. And I know Murray is a superstar and everything, but I don't think he gets enough credit playing down in Arizona. I think people don't really give him the respect. I think it's going to be this would be a good breakout game for him. That sounds weird saying a breakout game, but I think he needs something to solidify himself as one of those top 3 quarterbacks. But let's see here. My fades, I'm going to fade both of the tight ends, Tyler Higbee and Ertz. They've both been having a lackluster season. They've shown flashes, but nothing like to talk about, nothing to write home to your mom. My sleepers, I'm going to go with Van. Van Jefferson is the deep threat in that offense right now, and he will have a good chance to score against that Arizona secondary that's given up some yards and stuff this year. And Rondo Moore, like, he had a great preseason, but you haven't really heard too much from him except from week 2 when he had the 114 yards and a touchdown. So I think he's looking for a breakout game, and I think, again, with the Rams coming in, that's a primetime game. So I think all these players for Arizona be on their A game. But yeah, that's my game.
Yeah, I like this game. This game is, I was thinking about that for my game of the week as well. I love what Los Angeles is doing. I love what Arizona does. So it's gonna be, I think Arizona right now comes in as a 3-point favorite. I don't know if necessarily they should be favored going into this, but you know what? It's hard to argue the way that Kyler Murray's played since coming back. But why does Kyler Murray not get that same respect? It's probably because he only plays half a season every year. That's kind of how that's been rolling for him.
I just think he plays in the West Coast time in Arizona. Like, you don't get the big media. Go ahead.
The reality is he kind of comes up short every once in a while. Now, Tera. Tera, let's head to your game of the week. What do you got for us?
You know that I'm partial to the shorties, so you gotta lay off little Kyler there. But moving on to our game of the week for me, little Kyler. It's Pitt versus Minnesota for me. Obviously, I've talked about a couple players in this game that I'm a little passionate about. But in terms of who I'm starting, we'll start off with the fact that Pittsburgh struggles against the pass and the run, bottom 10 in DVOA, coincidentally against both. So I'm okay with starting for sure Cousins, Jefferson, and Madison. I'm rolling those guys out. I know Cook returned to practice in theory this week, but I don't think he will go. Either way, you're going with the starting running back. On the opposite end, Minnesota is pretty middle of the road against the pass, but they are absolutely awful in DVOA against the run. They are 29th. So I am starting Najee. I know most people aren't fading Najee. If you have him, you're going to put him in your lineup, but feel a little bit more confident in starting him because I think they will try to lean a little bit more on him in the run game. As always, you got to start Javonte. And I don't hate Big Ben as a streaming option because it's a weird week where Hurts is out, Wentz is out, and Tua, who is often a very popular streamer, particularly for me. So if you're desperate and you have to go with someone, you can't go get like a Taylor Heineke or something, or Taysom Hill that I mentioned, you can go with Big Ben. In terms of who I'm fading, I love Pat Freiermuth, but I'm fading him, unfortunately. Unfortunately I am. And also, sorry. And also I'm going to be fading Chase Claypool. We talked about him earlier as well. Again, he's got that toe injury and, it's one of those things where he's practicing right now, but you never know how it's going to affect him in the game. And then I'll close out with sneaky plays. Again, we've talked about these guys, so I don't have to belabor it much, but obviously Tyler Conklin and KJ Osborne are two guys that I am perfectly okay with starting. While I'm fading Pat Freiermuth, I'm 100% okay with going with Conklin, with Thielen out. And then KJ Osborne as well, we talked about. The opportunity is just huge for both of them. So I love both of those guys as sneaky plays.
I just have to say, if you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, Pocket Cast, whatever, you are really missing out about the 45-minute mark each and every week because this is must-see television. When Tera Roberts makes it to ESPN, CBS, Fox, wherever that may be, these videos are still going to be in existence. And this is what it's about.
Especially when this little one gets older and trying to be all cool. I'm gonna pull this picture up and be like, remember you tried to like kill yourself with the cord a minute ago? Like, what's going on right now? He's like wrapping around his head. I was like, what are you doing?
He's trying to dive out now. He's wide awake, so he's good to go. So yeah, he's diving out. He's going to attack my equipment now.
Well, I want to get his take here on what is his game of the week here, if he has one for us to kind of work with. But while he's thinking about that, I'm going to move on to the Washington football team versus the Dallas Cowboys. This is my game of the week because Antonio Gibson is a must start this week. He's one of the hottest running backs out there right now. But it's not just that. Last year against Dallas, 2 games, 40 carries, 243 yards, 4 touchdowns. That was worth about 60% of his fantasy production last year in 2 games against the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm really looking forward to this. Plus, it's a rivalry game. Who doesn't like Washington versus Dallas? Especially when there's something on the line. I mean, Washington's right there, step in step with Dallas for that division right now. This is a huge game for Washington. Dallas, they lost a couple weeks ago against the Raiders. Washington came back. They beat the Raiders. So, this has some huge playoff implications. And in that NFC, no one's out of the wild card. It is an absolute mess there. You could be 5 wins and still be in wild card contention right now. So this has everything I want in a football game. Now, who am I fading? I'm still fading Ezekiel Elliott. I still don't think he's 100%. I still don't think he's ready to get out there. And I think they're going to limit his touches. Why? Because you can typically, unlike the Raiders, most teams can pass against Washington. Dak Prescott should have a big game. CeeDee Lamb should have a big game. Amari Cooper, he should have a big game. That's how things should work. Does it work always out like that every week? No, it doesn't. But I'm following the tail of the tape. I'm following the trends. And this has one of those kind of feelings where Dallas should be able to throw the ball a lot. And it feels like Washington should be able to run the ball plenty here as well. So I'm really looking forward to the Washington run game versus the Dallas passing game because I don't think either team's going to be able to limit either one of those teams in that situation. And then for me, sneaky play, it's going to be Ricky Seals-Jones. If he's healthy to go, you know he's going to have potential as a tight end 1 this week with Logan Thomas out. Now, he may not have tore his ACL. He may not have tore his MCL, but he was going through more tests, which means there is something here that they're going to limit him. He's doubtful already for this week. If you're doubtful already on a Monday, there's a good chance that you're out come Sunday. That's kind of how things roll here. Now, let's move along to the trending up, trending down, relax or panic. Major, where are we going on this one? Who are you relaxing on? Who are you panicking?
I'm kind of. Wait, where are we at? Where are we at on the list? I don't know. What's that one?
We're on line 24. We're on line 24.
Got you. So I spoke a little bit earlier. I like Lindsay. He's moving up a little bit for me because no one in that Miami backfield wants to be the starter for some reason. And the offense is starting to pick up a little bit. Tua is starting to play a little bit, so it's going to open up some holes for these running backs. And like I said, Phillip Lindsay was an all-star. He's a really good running back. I think this would be a good opportunity for him to come in and show some of these younger guys like what an old vet can do. Who you got, Matt?
First up, I'm going to say relax on Adrian Peterson. No, boo. He is not it, okay? No, we talked about him a couple weeks ago. Adrian Peterson is a shell of who he once was. Do not fall into that trap. Remember last time we thought Adrian Peterson was something? He got replaced by Donta Foreman, who then got replaced by Dontrell Hilliard. Alex Collins is supposed to be coming back potentially this week. You got Travis Homer. You got DJ Dallas. It's a mess in Seattle. I don't trust any of these guys to do anything. Avoid. It's playoffs. Don't get cute. Be smart. Use that head. I'm stealing a little bit of words there from the wise Mellow there. Just play smart. And Adrian Peterson is not the smart call. So relax. I know we're talking about grab every handcuff, grab every running back, except Adrian Peterson. Just don't do it. Okay. And then I'm panicking right now. So that's me relaxed. Okay. That is me relaxed. So I'm going to panic over James Robinson. Yes, the playoffs are coming and Urban Meyer is doing weird stuff, like not like on the bar kind of weird stuff, on his stool kind of weird stuff, but weird stuff when it comes to this Jacksonville Jaguars offense. You've got a stud running back who is among the top 10 at his position, and you're not using him. He fumbles the ball. What happens? Well, you know what? I used to coach the Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm going to put Carlos Hyde in and give him. Oh, you fumbled? You know what, Carlos? Go have another shot at it. James, sit on the bench. No, Carlos Hyde cannot hold James Robinson's jockstrap. That's James Robinson. Oh, yeah, I'm saying it. I'll say it right now. Carlos Hyde is not nearly the same running back James Robinson is. That is factual. There's evidence and stats and all that fun stuff to back that up. Now,
let's say not anymore. Let's say not anymore.
No, I'm going to say what I said. I'm not going to backtrack on that. And maybe Carlos Hyde does hold James Robinson's jockstrap. I don't know what goes on in Duval County. Okay, but what I'm saying right now is James Robinson is the superior athlete, the superior back in Jacksonville, and I cannot trust Urban Meyer with this offense, and it drives me up the wall. Now, Major, is there a DST that you want to stream this week?
Who am I streaming this week? I don't know. I got to see the schedule.
Well, while you think about that here, I'm going to turn my attention back to Tera. Tera, I just went on a rant. I don't know if you heard. That was me relaxed and me panicking. You're going to have to rewind that because you can't tell the difference between me being relaxed and panicking. And it's not because I'm really calm when I do it. Now, who are those players that you're panicking over or relaxing over?
I think I kind of, maybe when we talked about Jerry Jeudy, I touched on it a little bit. For me, it's Cortland Sutton. I would say panicking, but at this point, I've pretty much accepted what's going on there with the Denver wide receivers, especially Cortland Sutton. It's a bad situation for him. He's not the wide receiver 1 anymore. That's gone to Jerry Jeudy, and the wide receiver 1 isn't particularly productive, and neither is the wide receiver 2. So I don't think that Cortland Sutton is really trending in the right direction. Unfortunately, he's trending down for me. So that's my panic button player.
Yeah. I kind of threw this back out here to Mello, to Major there. If you've got another one up, who is that DST for week 14 that you're looking at streaming right now?
I'm gonna go with this is gonna be a tough one, but I'm gonna go with the Raiders. I like them against Kansas City. The Raiders always play their best against Kansas City. So I mean, they might not always win, but I like this team. This team got a little something. They got a little extra moxie or something going on with the Raiders, and it seems like Kansas City, yes, they're on a roll now, but I don't know. It's not the same Kansas City.
And I'm going to go to my top one. I'm obviously going to pick is going to be the Tennessee Titans right now. If I'm streaming them, they're playing Urban Meyer and the Jaguars. You just heard me rant about the Jaguars, how I can't trust anything there. So that would be my first option there. And you know what? I also like Seattle this week. I think they've got a pretty good matchup when it comes to, I think it's the Houston Texans. Tyrod Taylor got benched. Davis Mills came back in. So I think this is a good matchup for Seattle as well going in here.
I'm going to add the Chargers. I'm going to add the Chargers against the Giants as well.
That's another good one there as well. Yeah, I was looking at that here not too long ago. Tara, was there a DST that you're looking at streaming more? Little dude, what do you got for us? Spider-Man?
Can you say Green Bay? Green Bay. Bay? I don't hate Green Bay as a streaming defense. Let me not be a Packers fan right now. The secondary has been greatly improved. They've been being fantastic against the pass. So I think they're a good streaming option this week.
I definitely don't hate that, but so there's a few different options there for you as far as streaming there, Rod. If you have any other questions, just drop them in there. When we were looking at this, so we talked about your Cortland Sutton. I agree with you 100%. Sutton's a guy I just can't trust. I can't get behind here anymore. He's broken my heart too many times, and I have trust issues, so you will not be seeing me going back to Cortland Sutton anytime soon, especially with Jerry Jeudy, who's absolutely demolished that value, where he's averaging, I think, 23.8 yards per game and 1.8 reception per game. Why do I know that? Because he's basically been on my duds list for the last 3 weeks. Now, IDPing, we like to do it. Who are we starting for sure this week as far as IDP is concerned, Major?
I'm going to stay with the Raiders. I like Jonathan Abram. He's one of those guys, dude. Don't be interrupting my thing, little man. What's going on, dude? You get these. You get one of these too. Yeah. So I like Jonathan Abrams. He's one of those players who's always around the ball. Last week he only had 3 tackles, but the 3 weeks before that he had 10, 12, and another 10. I love any defensive player that's giving you double-digit tackles is always one of my guys. And he's playing against Kansas City, so he's going to be busy. They're going to throw the ball over the place, so he's going to be chasing down tight ends and receivers and slots, so he's going to be a busy guy. So I'm going with Jonathan Abram.
Jonathan Abram. Tara, who are you going with?
It's Bobby Wagner for me. 3 weeks in a row, he's had 13, 14, and 9 tackles, plus an interception. For me, he's definitely someone who I'm looking to be a must start this week.
And for me, I'm going with Derwin James against the New York Giants and potentially Jake Fromm. Do I need to say anything else? No. Derwin James, start him.
Jake from State Farm.
Jake from State Farm. He sounds hideous. He also plays hideous too, okay? Now, Major.
But now Matt said that he's going to have 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. What's next?
Dory, I can fix that. I can make that my bold prediction. We know it's not going to happen, especially twice in a row. Now, Major, what kind of stacks you got for us here?
I'm going to go David Mills to Nico Collins. Yes, I know. It's like, who? What? But yeah, they're playing against Seattle. And Seattle has the second worst secondary in the league. They can't stop anything. And Mills has already given you 2 300-yard games in his rookie season, so he can throw the ball. And I love garbage time when it comes to fantasy sports. And this is the time of the year that coaches typically put their young players out there, especially if you're on a losing team right now. You don't have any playoff aspirations. They're going to put the young people in, see what they have for next year. So I think David Mills is going to have a shot to try to win the job for next year, and I think Nico Collins is going to be his guy.
Okay, all right, I can see that there. Tara, what do you got for your stack?
So for my stack, I mean, it's an obvious stack. It's Dak and CeeDee Lamb, one of my favorite stacks in the world, basically at this point. But they're in a divisional game against Washington, and sometimes those things can go awry. But what I'm counting for there is that run game just isn't working. We talked about it. Pollard's very talented. Zeke is great when healthy, but the offensive line is just struggling, and I think they're just going to have to pivot away from running that ball and have to rely on Dak and getting another 40 plus attempts. And I love the connection between him and CeeDee Lamb. So that is my stack of the week.
All right. And I'm going to continue on here with some stud lead stacks. I'm going to go with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a shootout. I think you're going to see the QB1 and QB2 this week go at it as far as fantasy production is concerned. Yes, I know what I say about that Bills secondary, but this is Tom Brady we're talking about, so I'm going to pump the brakes there a little bit on that rule. You got Chris Godwin, you got Mike Evans, you got Stephon Diggs, you got Josh Allen. But Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, look for this connection to heat up. I'm not making this my bold prediction, but I can see them going for multiple touchdowns together. And I think Allen's going to throw for 340. And I think you're going to have Josh Allen's a QB1 this week and Brady's a QB2 this week. I think it's going to be an absolute insane shootout, and it's going to be fun to watch. And with that said, we're going to move on to who we need to temper our expectations, because I'm getting a little too excited about that game. So, Tara, who's the player you're tempering your expectations? What's that stud you're thinking about sitting?
Real quick, it's going to be James Conner, unfortunately. We've seen time and time again where this LA Rams defense is just way too strong, even against very talented running backs. So while James Conner is the guy, unfortunately, they're second in DVOA against the run. I'm pivoting away if I can, but, temper your expectations if you start him. Might not be extremely promising.
And Major, who are you tempering expectations on?
I'm going to go Rashad Bateman. We all love him. I think he's that guy, but last 3 weeks, 29 yards, 31 yards, 0 yards last week, and he still has not scored a touchdown all season. And the Ravens seems to be out of whack a little bit with this last loss. But I don't know. I think he's still gonna have a okay game, but it's not. We need to calm down on him being the wide receiver 1 at this point in his career right now.
So we got another question coming in from Roddy. He's kind of a win it to get it kind of guy here. Would you go Stafford or Herbert? His opponent has both Cooper Kupp and Mike Williams. He's got Keenan Allen. Obviously, if Keenan Allen's playing, he's playing him in his lineup. So, Major, Matt Stafford, Justin Herbert. You got two California players here.
I want to go Herbert, but I want to kind of take Cooper Kupp out the equation because he's been balling out. So if you go with Stafford, whatever points he gets is kind of going to phase Cooper Kupp out. So you're going to have to win somewhere else. If that made any sense at all. In my head, it did. But yeah, I'm going to go with Stafford just to mess up your opponents. If your opponent scores, you score. So I like those odds.
And Tara, what kind of odds are you playing here?
I'll be going with Herbert. I know the Giants have been a little bit stronger as of recent against the pass, but I really believe in that Arizona defense. So unfortunately, I would be tilting away from Stafford against that Arizona defense and just go ahead and go with Herbert.
Yes, and I'm Team Tera on this one too. Give me Justin Herbert here over Matt Stafford. We've seen this matchup already happen once. Matt Stafford, 26 for 41, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And, man, Chandler Jones is just a different beast. I don't have to worry about that with the New York Giants getting after Justin Herbert. So, you know what? I like Justin Herbert. I think he's got the higher ceiling. I think their floors are the same. So give me the little bit of higher ceiling here with Justin Herbert this week. Now, when I flip the script here a little bit more, I kind of talked about tempering my expectations here. And I'm going to go back to the well. I went to this well already once this season. It kind of worked out well. I'm going to temper expectations on Tyreek Hill. Last time I tempered my expectations on Tyreek Hill against the Raiders, you know what? He went off for 7 catches for 83 yards. Not bad. Serviceable production there, but not that explosive game that we were expecting. He's coming off a week in which Denver held him to 2 catches for 22 yards. And we know the Raiders are going to be focusing on that, and they cannot stop tight ends. So it's going to be a Travis Kelce week. I joked about it in my previous show. How do you stop Travis Kelce? You leave Tyreek Hill wide open. That's about the only way you stop Travis Kelce. The Eagles did a great job of that a few weeks back in like week 4 or something. So for me, I'm tempering those expectations on Tyreek Hill. Now, I love this part of here because last week I said Antonio Gibson and Jalen Waddle, go trade for them now because that strength of schedule is money. So I hope you all did that. I hope you took some advice because every once in a while I do have some good stuff. Now, Tera, who's that player you're doubling down on this week for trading?
Yeah, I'm doubling down on Josh Jacobs. I talked about him earlier. Over the past 3 weeks, really even 4 weeks, he has been he's been an RB1. And so I think if you can get him, he can finish out the season strong. Kenyon Drake going down is a huge bonus. The PPR targets have been coming in hot and heavy for him. So I'm just loving the direction for Kenyon Drake here. Or for Josh Jacobs here.
Yeah, Kenyon Drake. I'm not too big on Kenyon Drake here and that broken ankle. But that opens the door for Jalen Richard if he can get up back on the field, and Peyton Barber if you're looking for sneaky plays there. Major, who are you trading for?
I'm going Javonte Williams, man. Again, like we mentioned earlier in the show, if you could get a young stud, go and grab him. It looks like they're going to let him like run the rock the rest of the season, see what they have. I think Gordon is on his way out. So again, this is a time of year when coaches are leaning more towards the younger talent if they're not in that playoff run. So I'm going Javonte. Last week he had 102 yards rushing and another 76 receiving, and he added a touchdown. So yeah, I think he earned the right to be that starter, even if Gordon, not even a starter, but he'll have more to timeshare even with Gordon in the lineup. But I think the coaching staff is going to let him kind of show what he can do these last few games.
All right. But you would not trade Cam Akers and a first-round pick for Javonte Williams?
No, I said I would.
Okay, so you want Javonte Williams, not Akers, in a first?
Yeah, because the first kind of moved me to Williams, the Williams side. I like that first-round pick.
No, it was the question was Akers and a first for Javonte Williams.
No, I thought it was Akers and a first and Javonte. Oh, I read it wrong then. So yeah, I'm going wherever the first round pick is going. I'm going with that, whatever that one is.
Okay, and for me, I've been preaching strength of schedule. I want to set myself in the best situation possible as we come down this backstretch. I want to get good pieces on good players on good offenses. So I'm going to turn my attention to probably the cheaper of the two options in Tampa Bay, Mike Evans. Great strength of schedule. They got the Bills this week, so you can kind of put that off. I don't think this is the same Bills team we've been talking about since the Tre'Davious White injury. I do not think it's the same. Obviously, Mac Jones still completed 66% of his passes last week, so good job for Mac Jones there. But listen, after you get through this Bills game, if you're still worried about the Bills being a strong pass defense, which I'm not with Tre'Davious White being out, it's New Orleans Saints, it's Carolina, it's the New York Jets to kind of come up to the season. Mike Evans is still chasing history. Every time he gets 1,000 yards, it's a new historical mark for wide receivers, right? He's still chasing that 1,000-yard mark. You better believe Tom Brady knows that. Mike Evans knows that. Bruce Arians, he knows that. Everybody knows that. The defenses know it, and they're not going to be able to stop it because there's too many weapons on Tampa Bay. So I like Mike Evans. I think he's going to have a strong conclusion to this season as they continue to feed him, continue to get him to that mark. He's not that far off right now, and he's got some good matchups here. The strength of schedule looks really favorable for Tampa Bay and those pass catchers. Now, who are some of those under-the-radar picks, Tera, that you're kind of keeping an eye on this week?
So he was not on my waivers list, but I think it's an interesting start. If you need to, you want to, maybe you already have him. Treikwan Smith. I know we're not really keen on any pass catchers within that New Orleans offense, but Deontay Harris going down, I think, kind of benefits where if you need to pivot to Triquan Smith, he can be a sneaky start here, in my opinion. And it's not a bad matchup. We talked about it. Taysom being hurt, that finger, unfortunately, does kind of hamper his accuracy. He was looking pretty good until the finger got injured, and then all of a sudden things went awry. But still, against that defense, I think that it's going to be a decent week for him to be able to hit Treikwan Smith, who I think is going to be the clear wide receiver one in that offense now, somehow, some way.
I don't know how. Who's going to throw him the ball? Like
Trevor Simeon's still there.
Okay.
Simeon's got 300-yard passing games under his belt this year, man. He can still go out there and he can still toss that rock around there. Doesn't mean he's not going to throw 3 interceptions, but he can still throw the rock around. I think these pass catchers in New Orleans have a very distinct role in what they need to do. I think Deontay Harris, which kind of caught me off guard there about that suspension, that kind of came out of nowhere for me. Treikwan Smith is that wide receiver. Marquez Callaway's that big play guy. He's a touchdown. I think he's had like 25 or 26 receptions this year. Don't fact check me on that, but 6 of them have been touchdowns. Like he's been that guy that they've been looking for in the end zone each and every week. So I like that. Treikwan Smith is a sneaky play there. How sneaky do you want to get there, Major? A little sneaky, a little freaky. What do you got?
I'm going to go with Samaje Perine. Like we talked about it earlier. I mean, a running back having a neck issue, I think, is a big deal. And that's what Mixon has. And Samaje runs hard when he's in the game. He's averaging 4.4 yards a carry. And he's like a spark plug. He gets that team going. I think the team rallies around him a little bit more than Mixon. Maybe because he is the, change of pace back. But yeah, look for him to have a bigger role this week, and we'll go from there. Oh, you got that?
I'm going to go back to Washington, and I'm going to talk about a revival, and I'm going to talk about Ricky Seals Jones revival. Yes, Logan Thomas, we talked about this, doubtful right now on a Monday, which means he's out on a Sunday. That's basically how that's going to roll out. If Ricky Seals is in that lineup, fire him up. You know what? If he's not, I'll give you a little bit more. Go with Bates. Throw the other tight end for the Washington football team. If Ricky Seals isn't there and if Logan Thomas isn't there, I think Bates could be another sneaky option there. So the tight end who is healthy for Washington is a sneaky play with Logan Thomas out. Now, what everyone's been waiting for the previous 97 minutes. They want to see if Matt Donnelly can continue his hot streak of bold predictions here in week number 14. Yes, one is a streak. You know what, Major? 1 is the loneliest number, but 2 can be just as lonely as 1. So you better just be careful there. Now, Tera, what is your bold prediction for week number 14? Hit me.
I'm going to stay on brand with what I've talked about the entire show. KJ Osborne, top 20 receiver in PPR, because as we talked about with Bo, that's all that matters.
Unless you had a top 5 when it comes to standard and half-point PPR, then you carry the 1 and then it works out. Now, Major, what's your bold prediction? What 50-50 ball do you got going for us this week?
I'm going to go Bateman scores his first touchdown. I put Batman on this stretch.
I know, and I was kind of waiting for that. I didn't want to say nothing because
I'm reading. I'm like, wait, what? Hey,
when I roll this next week and I copy and paste the bottom here and I throw, I'm like, hey, you know what? Sorry, Batman didn't score, man. It's just that simple.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go Bateman gets his first touchdown, and maybe even Batman may score. You never know what's going on in Gotham. So let's get that first score. I said let's temper our expectations on him a little bit, but I think the team has to want to get him a touchdown. Kind of like how your who's your guy out in New England?
Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, Jacoby got his. The whole team just went crazy. I think it's going to be the same thing when Bateman scores. So I'm waiting to see that. Who you got, Matt?
So I'm really struggling here right now because I got 2 bold predictions, but I only want to go with 1. And I don't know which one's bolder. So I'm going to throw them both out here, and I'm going to let you guys decide which one I get to stick with. Bold prediction number 1 goes to Antonio Gibson and his 150 yards from scrimmage 2 touchdown game that he's going to put on the Dallas Cowboys. I got no problem with this. He's We talked about it. 40 carries, 243, 4 touchdowns in 2 games last year. He has had the Dallas Cowboys number. My other bold prediction is 125 yards and a touchdown for Saquon Barkley against the Chargers this week. I am firing him up here in that matchup. You know what? I think there's
maybe
go
Chargers. Maybe go with the first.
You think the first one's bolder, or you think that's the more easier one to hit?
It's the easier one to hit. So you're gonna go bolder, Saquon bolder for real.
Yeah, that's the bold one. And you said Gibson. You said yards from scrimmage, right?
Yeah, passing and rushing.
Yeah, that one's way.
Yeah. Saquon's definitely bolder.
All right, we're going to go Saquon 125 and a touchdown. And I'm going to stop talking right now because I was about to say the Giants win this game against the Chargers.
Don't stop talking.
But on a side note, wouldn't that not be the most Charger thing to date this season, losing to the Giants this week?
Yeah.
Don't put me down on the Dallas. Jake Fromm, I'm telling you right, Jake Fromm and the Giants, crazy things happen to the Chargers, especially when the playoffs are on the line. I'm just saying. Now, again, Jake Fromm is under center possibly this week. I don't know if that's confirmed or not. I haven't really been paying that much attention to what's been going on with the Giants. But that means a heavily involved run game. I would hope an offensive coordinator will lean on the run game with Jake Fromm under center and maybe throw only twice. But so that's where I'm at with my bold prediction. Saquon Barkley, I'm going to type that in right after the show. 125 and a touchdown against the Chargers. Now, this has been the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast, powered by the Fantasy Points Media Group. Once again, head over to fantasypoints.com, enter promo code 21Vipers10, get 10% off that subscription today. Dynasty does not end after week 14, and it does not end after week 17. It is a year-round event, so make sure you get all that best information that you can. You get that at fantasypoints.com, where you can find the guy down here. I guess you can't really see that if you're listening. You can't see that if you're listening to it on the podcast, but he's got a little bit of the Donnelly shuffle going on. The daddy disco going down. Major Caldwell, where can the people find you? Because I know where you're at Sunday, but let the people know where you are Sunday.
Every Sunday, Fantasy Points, Extra Point. Every Sunday, 10:30 Eastern Time. Come and get your player props. You will make some money. Me and my guy Nick, we are giving you guys the keys to make money watching football. That's like the greatest job ever. So come get that information and let's make some money.
Everyone likes money, especially poor people like me. So we'll definitely be hitting that show up on the Sundays there. And if you want, we talk about the defensive rookie of the year, Micah Parsons. We talk about the offensive rookie of the year in Mac Jones / Jalen Waddle, wherever you want to believe. But who is the fantasy football analyst rookie of the year? I'm going to look over to this side of the screen here. Yeah, no, you can't point at me. It's definitely not me. Right there, Tera Roberts, who's been coming on strong. Team Osmo, Fantasy Points, Fantasy Pros, Fantasy
everything.
Whatever it is. Tera, fix what I'm trying to say here and let people know where to find you.
I think you guys, you can find me obviously here. I mean, come on, every single Tuesday. But Fantasy Pros, Fantasy Alarm, Awesemo, daily content. So yeah, just hit me up on Twitter and I tweet it out on a regular basis.
Hey, and don't be shy. Make sure you check out the CBS there, and they got a little bit of fantasy. And every once in a while, Tera Time makes an appearance. So
thank you for the reminder. Yes, this Thursday at 2 Eastern Time, the CBS Fantasy Football Today show.
And just like that, we have broken down everything and everywhere you need to be this week. And it all starts right here on the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast, powered by Fantasy Points Media Group, every Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check us out and tune into the Vipers Network because there's new content, new videos dropping every week. Check them out. Some of them are even okay. Make sure you throw up the old thumbs up here every chance you get there. on every video, including this one. And take a second, whether you listen to us on Pocket Cast or Spotify, Apple, Anchor, whatever that may be, take a moment, rate and review. As always, drop those comments in here. Just because you didn't get a comment in on the show going live doesn't mean we're not going to answer it if you drop it in here after the show. Drop those comments, and one of us will get back to you with an answer on those starts and sits, those waivers, questions, whatever's bugging you, right? Someone here will get back to you. All right. And then with that being said, thank you very much for tuning in to another edition of this ViperCast, and we will see you all next week.